The left-wing New York Times, I know that's partly redundant, elevating its ideological fervor, and that's very kind way to call it what it is, publishing not just an anonymous quote, but an entire anonymous op-ed from an alleged member of the administration who bashed the president, and that's not allegedly, that's definitively. This is just the latest escalation in the Fourth Estate's assault on President Trump, and no one should take seriously the claim that the author of this anonymous op-ed is truly a senior administration official. President Trump addressed the op-ed during a White House event this very afternoon.
I asked the sheriffs, can you imagine this? We have somebody in what I call the failing New York Times that's talking about he's part of the resistance within the Trump administration. This is what we have to deal with. And, you know, the dishonest media, because you people deal with it as well as I do, but it's really a disgrace. I will say this. Nobody has done what this administration's done in terms of getting things passed and getting things through. When you tell me about some anonymous source within the administration, probably who's failing and probably here for all the wrong reasons, no. And the New York Times is failing. If I weren't here, I believe the New York Times probably wouldn't even exist. And someday, when I'm not president, which hopefully will be in about 6.5 years from now, the New York Times and CNN and all of these phony media outlets will be out of business, folks. They'll be out of business because there'll be nothing to write and there'll be nothing of interest.
Well, the president is absolutely correct when he suggests that the copy won't be quite as elevated or exciting when he finally leaves the presidency. Joining us tonight, Paul Bracken. He's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. He's professor of political science and business at Yale University, a great American. It's great to have you here.
Good to be here.
Let's start with the president and this anonymous quote by some worm that allegedly is in the who is allegedly a part of the administration. Your thoughts about where the New York Times is?
My thoughts are that, first of all, the New York Times would have vetted this very carefully about who it is, so I don't have any doubts about that. My feeling is yet another example of partisan politics run riot, is the way I would put it.
Right.
It's happening everywhere, and it's not good for the democracy. I don't think it's good for U.S. security overseas. It can tempt people to think the wrong things about that we have a weak government. And I was shocked that the individual in question would not resign and put it out there under his own name.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. Anyone who would betray the man they work for as president of the United States is a delusional, egomaniacal, self-aggrandizing jackass. I don't see any other way to call it. I would think that person would, I hope, stand out clearly amongst the top officials of the administration.
See, this is not like you work for a big business and you don't agree with the CEO or something like that.
National security.
This is you work for the United States government and you work for the Constitution. And if you really don't agree with it, you shouldn't be in there. And you have special obligations that are far larger than people who work at most kinds of organizations.
Yeah, this would also be a call. This would also be a call to the deep state, whether it's in the FBI. We've seen the corruption that is rampant in its leadership, the Department of Justice. All of those people should be walking out the door because they are appalling in their disloyalty, the ignorance of their conduct, the political corruption that they have, with which they've stained that department and that agency.
Well, the way I would put it is that we have made it much easier to impeach the next president, whoever it is, after this one.
Right.
We are lowering the bar here, and we are going to suffer for the sins of both parties, but especially in recent times. It is not good for the strength of this country, and a lot of other things are going well on the economic front and the foreign policy front, but on the political front, they're not.
His successes to this point in time in his administration are unprecedented in the modern era. Am I correct?
You are correct. The one that gets me is the charge that he's drawn to authoritarian governments like Russia and China, which belies the fact that he has launched the largest nuclear buildup that's going to add thousands of hydrogen bombs aimed at Russia and China. Right. I do not see this as coddling the Russians.
Nor do I.
And the Russians do not see it that way. I was just in Russia, as you know, and talking to a lot of officials there. They are absolutely stunned at the thought that we believe that they could hack the U.S. election and make a difference. They can't do anything right in their own country, and they're stunned to think that we think they won our election. They tilted it.
Folks should have a pretty good insight into Russian government just by the historical facts. That is, in 1991, with the collapse of the Soviet Union and Marxist-Leninism. I mean, the country is struggling now, not just because of the sanctions, although they are a tremendous burden, but because the country has yet to embrace markets and to achieve its potential.
They're backward technologically. There is no Silicon Valley in Russia. They've tried to start it several times. The ruble is collapsing. The biggest thing you want to know what people talk about in Russia? It wasn't hacking the election. It wasn't Donald Trump. They are extremely upset because the ruble's gone down so much that they can't take their vacations on the Riviera this year. Right. That's what the Russians I spoke to were really upset about.
They're upset about that. They're also obviously very interested in reclaiming at least full power in the Atlantic. The United States now creating a countervailing Atlantic fleet to the force that already the Russians have put into the Atlantic.
Well, we've done a lot in the last few years. We've got some very interesting military technologies, and there are now NATO battalions in the 3 Baltic countries. Right. They would have to kill NATO troops if they come in and invade, and that gets them into a ballgame that they do not want to get into.
And the reason they're there, in large measure, is because Estonia, the Baltics are, without question, historically, they've had enough of Russian invasion.
That's an understatement. They do not like the Russians.
Well, we like you, and we're delighted that you have taken time to join us. Hope you'll be back with us soon.
Thank you. Good.
Thanks, Professor. Appreciate it. Paul Bracken.